Afternoon all, how are you all doing? Afternoon Steve, afternoon Frederick, afternoon Martin, Fletch. Good afternoon my hero with the big calves. I have got big calves. Too much spinning. How are we all doing? I've just been up in a light aircraft, flying around across the sea, which is lovely. Very good fun that was. Afternoon Stefan, Zico, how are we all doing? Right, so just going to have a quick look at the news this morning. We got some more scary. No, it wasn't scary. It was a bit, actually. Only when you realise that you're in a 32-year-old plane, basically. And it's a bit worrying when you're taking off and all of a sudden you get these gusts of wind and it does that. They call it a light aircraft for a reason. The wind is stronger than the aircraft. So you do tend to move around quite a lot. It's not like flying in a plane where you just go like that when you go on holiday. It's totally different. It's like driving, I would liken it to driving a 30-year-old Mini through a thunderstorm. Although it is totally clear today, just a bit windy. Good fun though. I've done it before. But I'm back. It's quite nice when you land. Although the landing was a bit sideways as well. It's good fun. Anyway, so news this morning, not as scary as the Japanese yen. So we had, this came out basically before I left this morning to go to the airport. Japanese top currency diplomat Kanda, we are closely watching FX moves and will respond appropriately if required. We're not focusing on FX levels. So this is what the yen, what they do in Japan. A bit bumpy like the pound yen, yeah. So this is what they do in Japan. They go, we're watching FX levels because we don't like the fact that you're devaluing our currency too much. We are definitely not watching FX levels, but we're watching the FX levels. We're not going to intervene in anything to do with FX. But if you keep doing that, we're going to push that down, but we're not going to do it. This is basically all they say. So whenever you hear this in the news feed, virtually every single time, you're going to get a 2 to 3 ADR move. Straight down everything against the yen. They power the yen up, basically. So this happened this morning. This could be any time in the next day, week, month. They will intervene. So when you look at things like the yen, anything against the yen, US dollar yen's a really good example. If you look at the 4-hourly chart, you can see the intervention clear as day. Yeah. So there's one there. There's one there. There's one there. Yeah. That's what a Japanese intervention looks like. So that's what you will get. It will be a massive move, usually a couple of hundred ADR, straight down. And it's all, as you can see, everything is starting to go today. So the yen has started to power up a little bit. Not everything. The US dollar mainly has dropped, but there's other yens that have started to pump a little bit. So my New Zealand dollar yen, I've closed this out. I've got this running on my account as well. And I've closed it out here as well. So what I've done is I've shut this New Zealand dollar yen down. So there was a mean reversion running long. Excuse me. I just closed that out with a loss. I've done that on my account as well. This is the EA, the VPS EA running it. So I'm out. I don't want to have anything long against the yen because if they do press the button, and they usually do when they say things like this thing's just going to come down and you do not want to be the wrong side of it because it could be weeks. So just be careful if you've got anything long against the yen. It might be worth moving it. Oil's going nuts today as well. It's been a busy morning. So huge drop on oil. We looked at this morning. We've got 6 minutes to the open. We looked at this morning as potential. Are we now starting to go long? It looks like we are in this ascending channel. It's a beautiful wedge. It looks like it's going to break long today. Bang, straight down. 150 ADR to the downside. So I was just scanning through the news just before we came on. 25 basis point hike on the euro as well for June and July. Bullish, bullish, bullish euro. Enough Democrats will support the debt limit deal, basically. So it looks like they're going to get the we're not really going to default on our debts because we just put the ceiling up all the time sort of move, which means it's probably not going to tank the US dollar. But there's nothing in here that I can see to do with oil in any shape or form. So I'm not quite sure why we've had this big drop on oil, but they are certainly scaling out of oil fast. So we're back in this range again. So this is your new range low. It could be any of these levels. We've gone straight through that one, which is last week's low. Then we've got 3 weeks low and 2 weeks low here. So watch 175 to 200 ADR. That is a spot on, beautiful place to start buying oil if you want to buy oil. So yeah, really good level coming up on oil. Not quite sure why it's tanking though. Oil tanking, sorry. It is. So yeah, there we go. News-wise this afternoon, we've got the consumer confidence coming out at 3 o'clock. May or may not move the market. The way the DAX moved this morning, it was a little bit lackluster. We did eventually get an opening range breakout to the upside, but it was a choppy old open. We looked at a long. We were talking about this being the long pullback, which it exactly was. Remember I said this morning, if you were here, one of two things is going to happen. This is either going to be that point there where we saw that big candle go down. We said it's either a pullback short or this is your peak formation low, and that is a pullback for a long. And it was that one. Guaranteed to be one of the two, wasn't it? So that's what happened. So looking at the US indices this morning, they haven't really done an awful lot. We've had a bit of a push and a pull across the US indices, but nothing particularly dramatic. So could go either way. It may wait until 3 o'clock. It may not. I don't know. So we'll see what happens at the open, but I think we'll probably get a decent open because it's a bank holiday yesterday. So we got 3 minutes to go until the open. Just a quick look at the previous results for yesterday, for those that weren't here this morning. So we banked 0.4 yesterday on ADR reversals, 0.71 drawdown control done today, sitting in 6.4. There's nothing really bad. There's nothing really a massive drawdown here at all. So the pound New Zealand is the only thing really that's getting a little bit close to needing to do something about it. The US dollar yen this morning was sitting at 2 point something. It's not now because obviously that's come down. So that's on its way. H1M5 mean reversion, 0.37, a drawdown control done today, sitting in 5% drawdown, 1.64 banks yesterday. Again, nothing in drawdown really to worry about at all. H4 mean reversion, 0.53 drawdown control done today, 1.26 banks yesterday, sitting in 7%. Pound New Zealand again. This thing's on a fire at the moment, the pound New Zealand. So that's in 2%. So if that thing continues to push for another day or so, probably have to start to look at doing something about that one. So we are now pretty much 800 pips on a 160. So is that 5 ADR? 5 ADR. So basically 5 ADR straight up, no stopping. It's going to come down at some point and do a profit take. But the way this is moving at the moment, this New Zealand dollar's got no legs at the moment. And obviously the pound is rallying quite nicely. So, and H1 hedging sitting in 15% of drawdown, 0.1 banks yesterday, 0.6 banks this morning. Again, nothing in drawdown to worry about. It's all just risk. Right, so just going to watch the open on this account this morning. We've got 40 seconds left to go, or this afternoon rather. So this is testing the new 5-minute pre-market opening range variation. This is a new version. I literally, before I went, I loaded it up. I haven't even had a chance to test it, so this might not even work today. But we'll see what happens. So basically, we're going to be taking a break out of the 5-minute pre-market. And obviously, we will take whichever way it goes, and it will automatically flip and reverse if it's gone the wrong way on the first trade, looking for 1.5 hour return. So we'll see where we go. It's a bit volatile at the open. There we go. We're open. So stops, buys and sells are all in place. Shorts are triggered, cancelled off. So that's all working nicely. Okay, so we've gone short on the Dow, short on the NASDAQ. Buy stops have cancelled. That's working good. Haven't triggered yet on the S&P 500. Okay, so far so good, all working. Quite like it actually to stop out on these, just so I can make sure that it flips properly. Looks like it's going to break long on the S&P. Still an inside bar at the moment on that 5-minute pre-market. Right, so that stopped out, hasn't flipped long. That hasn't worked. Okay, so that hasn't worked. That has not. That has flipped long. Right, so the NASDAQ hasn't. That stopped out but hasn't flipped. That one has flipped, which is good. And gone long on the S&P. Why is that not triggered? Look at that for a nasty stop out. Okay, so that's going to stop out on those and go short. Already has. That's good. Oh, all working. Good. Apart from that, it's always the NASDAQ for some reason. Did that the other day. For some reason, didn't take the additional trades. I've got more filters in place now on these as well. So basically, I've got you can turn on or off whether you want it to flip, and you can also now adjust the TP on the second entry on the flip entry, basically. Spread maybe shouldn't be anything to do with spread in theory. Correcting stops. So that was on the S&P. So that recorrected that because of slippage. Dow slippage. Didn't just decided not to flip long for some reason. I don't know why. So anyway, not that mind because it went short. Okay, so the Dow has flipped long. Bit of a messy open today, isn't it? All over the place. Everything's just all over the place at the moment. Okay, so Dow has definitely popped. Okay, so stopped out on the S&P, flip long. Good. Only taken one trade. Again, this isn't working properly at all. I need to figure out why this is not triggering all these orders. Something very wrong with it. It works 100% perfectly, and back testing can't break it at all, but live testing doesn't work. So there's something to do with broker execution is stopping these orders triggering. I'm not quite sure how to actually test for that. So the S&P should have gone long 33. So it opened a long, but didn't take a long on the second entry. Slippage 0.0. Slippage 3 pips. Correcting stops. That's fine. Need to figure that out. There's a problem. Something's gone wrong somewhere. But I mean, it's set to fill on any price. So if it gets slippage, it's set to go. Yeah, whatever. Take it. Take a 50 pip slippage if you want. It's not. There's no limit. I had a limit of 4 pips maximum slippage. I've removed that completely, so it's unlimited slippage. It's not taking it. So that just adjusted for 3 pips slippage and placed the order. That's not a problem. Unless what order was that? Yes, that was a previous order, which was fine. I need to get these logs out later and have a look. Right. So the Dow is on its way to target. One stop out on the short, flip long. That would have been a double-ended stop out and flipped short again. So you'd be down 2R and taking a TP at 1.5R there with a runner. So that's potentially, if that drops today, that's got target written all over it. See where it goes. Maybe I should put an actual physical slippage in there and say to it, fine, have 100 slippage. There you go. So it's placed 2 shorts there. So that's second entry. So how did it go long 1 S&P? I know it's only gone 1 short S&P. Yeah, okay. That didn't take 2 trades. Sorry, talking amongst yourself while I'm just commentating on this. Okay, so that's fine. So that is flipped 1. So we're going to stop out. So we should go 2 short on the Dow when you stop out. Whippy, nasty open today. Right, so that should have taken 2 short on the Dow. And it only took 1. All right, so there's an issue somewhere in the logic of the EA I need to look at. The weird thing is I can't break it in the strategy tester. And the strategy tester doesn't do this at all. It's 100% accurate. Every time you're out, you're back in with 2 orders. Live trading, it just doesn't work. And I don't know what it is in live trading. There's nothing in the logs that can give me any clues either as to why it just doesn't execute the orders. So I need to look into that. I might have to do some reading on it and find out what potentially that could be, why it's not triggering. Because it's imperative it triggers the second order. If it triggers 2 orders long and only 1 order short, it's never going to make money. It's got to trigger 2 orders short. Anyway, we'll let that go. But so there's your 5-minute opening range at the moment. So your 5-minute range basically is intact still. So you're now short the Dow on the 5-minute. Inside bar still on the NASDAQ. Inside bar still on the S&P if you're trading the S&P. So the Dow's the only thing that's triggered a short order at the moment, which is there. And that's going to hit TP, you see? So that should have a 5R running on it now instead of a 1.5R. So that's 3.5R profit. That's not going to make because it didn't trigger the second order. Got to get it working. Afternoon XR update.news. Still need yen to drop hard. Is today the day? Yes, I think today could be the day. We will see. We'll have a look at all those in a minute. There's loads of RSIs to look at. 175 on oil. Okay, so this is getting into the territory where if you do want to buy oil up, this 175 to 200 ADR zone is basically previous support resistance area. So this is a really good buy spot here. So drop down to 5-minute, wait for a reversal alert on this. Thanks for the follow, DB. Welcome aboard. There's your reversal alert on it. So just above 150 ADR. So this could well be the last push down before we actually find some strength to get all the way back up and get that run up to $95 a barrel done. But we'll see. Right. So we'll watch the Dow. So there's your 5-minute opening range break on the Dow. To the downside. We'll have a look at all these ADRs. That Dow's gone beautifully. Look. Shame. So that's the 5R short there, which is just before ADR. Look at that thing. Look at that. Whip, 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 whip. Dead. Still short on that one. So NASDAQ again today. NASDAQ's, it's very, very weird. The NASDAQ in backtesting with the opening range strategy was one of the best performers. In reality, when you're actually watching this thing, it's awful. The NASDAQ's far too volatile. It really needs loose settings on it because it's just too whippy. Whereas you look at everything else, it's much more defined, all the other instruments. The NASDAQ's just an absolute beast for this opening range. But when it goes, it gets 10R, doesn't it? So, morning, Brian. Been short for weeks and got torched like Minneapolis during 2020 Summer of Love. Wasn't in Minneapolis for the 2020 Summer of Love. I wouldn't tell. Couldn't tell you. Could it be the same problem I'm having? Posted in Telegram. No? Gold, up or down? At the moment, I would say you need to be going long on gold. I don't trade gold, no. Don't trade news, no. Broker feed, Brian, yeah, it could be. We'll have a look at that. Right, so let's have a look at ADRs and everything today. So lots and lots of ADRs to look at. So let's start off with just looking at these yens. So the main news we've got obviously this morning is the yen. There is potential for a intervention coming. So every time we hear this, we are watching the FX levels. We will refrain from commenting on $140 yen level. We have shared recognition of risks, including US debt issue. When asked today's meeting is meant as a function of verbal intervention against the yen weakening, there was no such intervention or intention. We are not going to touch the yen, but any second now it's going to go boom and everything is going to fly down against the yen. So just be wary of the yen. This thing that they've just said here, this 140, where was it? That one. Yeah. Remember last time, you probably won't remember if you weren't here, but if you were here, I said when we were going to get to 150 on the yen, that is likely where they will intervene, right? We saw this intervention come in and we said, right, if we get to $150, that is where they're likely step in. Bang, almost to the pip, $150, yen. Right now they're calling 140. That's exactly where we are now, 140. So what they said was, if you keep pushing us up to 150, we will take measures to stop you pushing further. What they're saying now is, if you keep pushing us further above 140, we will take measures to stop you pushing further. So this is going to start the second leg down on the yen. We're just waiting for that intervention to come. So one or two things is going to happen. Either the market is going to drive this down because they're going to go, right, we're not doing any more selling of the yen. We need to now start buying the yen because it looks like they're going to intervene, and that in itself will just drive the yen forward. Or the market is just not going to do anything on it and they're going to let the US dollar rally, and then bang, the Japanese will intervene anyway. So either way, you should be looking for shorts on everything against the yen. So any RSI extensions to the upside, obviously look for good short entries, but you could just get into shorts now, basically, and hold on tight. It's been pushed now for 2 weeks solid in one direction, and they could not make any moves to the downside on it. So you can see the last trade I had on US dollar yen was back there on that RSI extension, which worked out beautifully. But since then, we've done nothing but really drive. So looking for that to be the start, potentially. That's the first new lower high that we've had put in. So we're looking for a lower low to form there. As soon as we get that form, then it's potentially off. And this thing typically comes down like a house of cards. Proper climb up the stairs, fall down the elevator shaft move. So just be careful of any yens. So at the moment, the US dollar yen has hit ADR low. So this is an ADR reversal today. And it's just a quick scout back to the upside, but you don't really want to hold it, really, if possible. So look for roughly a third of an ADR, which is going to be, in this case, somewhere around about your 40 pip level. So you'd be looking back up into this area here, really, as a target. Anything more than that, if it starts to making new lows, don't really want to hold it. So just be a little bit careful with these today. That's the US dollar yen. Apart from that, you got the Swiss yen, which we looked at this morning. So that's, we look at this morning. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So down here, wasn't it? We were looking at this. So you're out on that one. What's date? 30th, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so in at 10:45, out at 12:03. Straight in, straight out. So yeah, that was your ADR reversal, and that was your payoff. Complete V-shaped recovery. But as you can see, they're not taking it anywhere. The Swiss franc was massively weak, and obviously the yen's had that strength. So totally undone that Swiss yen. So those are your two yen pairs. Oil, obviously, as we know, is a massive ADR hit today to the downside. So you've just had the reversal alert trigger on oil above 150. There we go. So that's the 175 ADR. That is that weekly level we just looked at. Yeah, so this low here and this low here. Yeah. So potentially, if that's going to be the low, that's going to be high. It's just a real mess. The market structure is an absolute mess on it. What we were looking for is a low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, and a higher low. So this has to be the turning point. If this market structure is going to hold, and we are still going to be bullish, and it's ever so slightly bullish, isn't it? That is your high, your low, which is going to be the lowest point. However, a lot of people may well be playing this as short flag break back down to here. So this could be a flag break short all the way back down to the monthly low, one or the other. The market is calling it long. The market, though, however, does not seem to be able to get its act into gear and get anywhere. So you're cool if you want to trade it, but that's exactly where you want to be buying it from. And then looking for a new high to be put in. So it's a hold up to kind of your $75.50, $76 a barrel. So good ADR reversal opportunity there. 5 minute, your reversal alert's already gone in. It's putting back now. So you're looking for that retest. W pattern long. Aussie US. So all the US pairs been very, very busy today. Let's just go out to a higher time frame so we can see what's going on. So we had that push up, we had that rally down into ADR, and then we've pushed back up again. So your entry on this one was down here. It's all redrawn because obviously we've had lots of price action on this one up and down today. God, what day to go flying. Missed it all. So your entry was there on that candle. You're out. Target hit. Easy done today. So that's already played out. Swiss yen we've covered. Euro pound was a hit to the downside. Still in that. So that's your 100 ADR. So initial reversal alert on that one. This is it. So there's your entry. So that is potentially forming your W pattern now. So long. So the trouble with this one is obviously it's a long against a long, potentially. So sideways, but it's a long entry on ADR. It's also a long entry on the hourly RSI extension as well, which we'll look at in a sec. So that's a double bubble. Let's just see if there's any support coming up. Can't see any. No support. So got to go out to the 4 hour to find the next level on this, which is all the way back down here. So we looked at this morning as this being the area, didn't we, for a bounce, which is what we bounced off of there. So all the way back down to there, which is kind of 300 ADR. So anywhere in here, you're going to find support for a bounce back up. Beautiful propulsion gap fill from that old one all the way down, filled. So this could go either way, though, because it's a long pound and a long euro. So difficult one to call. Euro US dollar also hit. So that's an ADR hit to the upside. That was an ADR. Yeah, that was an ADR hit to the downside, wasn't it, first? So that was your entry. Beautiful. That's played out lovely. You also had a short entry on that, which is pretty much played out. So you could have traded that in both directions. So Euro US dollar sell straight into profit. Yeah, so that's already played out and paid out. Pound odd. So ADR hit to the upside. This one, so pound odd and pound New Zealand, as you can see, pound odd is now 175 ADR and still going. So you need to look for areas of resistance coming up on this thing. So monthly high is where we are now. So look for signs of weakness up here. We're 175 ADR, testing monthly levels. So definitely got an opportunity for a drop on that, except we've got this weak Aussie and weak New Zealand. So look at the pound New Zealand as well, off like a steam train. So that just taking third position short on that one here. So that's third entry short. That's second entry. That's first entry. So in 3 short, average is ADR. So just still waiting for this, but this thing's not stopping at all. This pound at the moment, really, really strong, as you can see. So big moves on the pound. Pound odd, we've just looked at. Pound New Zealand, we've looked at. Pound CAD is an ADR hit to the upside as well. So you've got short opportunity there. Next reversal on that one is going to be fairly tight, I think. Yeah. So 150. So that's just about touching 175 ADR, not quite. So you're very, very close to it. There's your entry. Pound Swiss 150 ADR has just gone in. So there's your entry on that one. Shorting it back down into this area here. So if you look at the hourly, that's the propulsion gap. There's your last week's high. So any pullback down into that propulsion gap there could potentially act as resistance, support rather, on the way down, because that was previous resistance. Failing that, back down into that propulsion gap for a bounce off of there. Pound Swiss, so that was one that's just hit 150, and that's coming up into the weekly highs. So again, high from 2 weeks ago and last week's high, and then you've got the 3-week high up there as well. So beautiful short opportunity on this one, either this level, or up into there. So if you're getting your first entry here, your second entry somewhere up there, and get out on the pullback down into this area. So that is good as well. Pound Swiss, these are all longs ago, the pound, obviously, just bear in mind. Pound New Zealand we've covered, and pound US dollar is the other one. So pound US dollar, big hit to the upside. M5 reversal has just happened. And you're putting in your retest now. Pull back down into that area there. So loads of ADR opportunities today. Most of these are on the pound. So don't get over leveraged on them, but all look like good opportunities. There's 175 on the pound CAD, just hit. There you go. So you got your 175 on it now as well. Still rallying. So just wait for signs of weakness. Wait for those reverse alerts to go in, and just scale in. But yeah, big extensions on these. I'm not quite sure why the pound's been so strong today. Haven't really seen anything pound related. Just a big strong push. Lots of ECB movement, but nothing pound related. So I don't know why that's moving quite so much. Indices, bit of a mess on the indices at the open. So we've had basically a bit of a whipsaw. So the first 2 candles were complete whipsaws on the NASDAQ. Then we've rallied out and we're slamming short on the NASDAQ now. Dow broke to the downside and is pushing back up. Real mess. So we've got the news in 7 minutes. So it looks like the market potentially is hanging around a little bit for the news, maybe. But a mess this morning. AIM. What's the ADR sheet? There's loads of links going along the bottom. If you want any information on anything I do, it's all on the website. Nice ad bounce off the EU this morning. ADR. Nice ADR bounce off the EU this morning. Yeah. So that's a beautiful ADR, and obviously ADR short as well. JPY needs a non-aircraft news event that would fix it. Exactly. So any kind of news, basically, but intervention news. It's coming. It's coming. Nvidia becomes the 9th stock to ever top the 1 trillion market value. So Nvidia has just hit the 1 trillion market value. And what happens to the NASDAQ? Why is everybody selling tech stocks when Nvidia's just announced it's hit the 1 trillion stock mark? If anybody wants any convincing that this market is completely illogical and random, let's have some amazing news about the tech markets and watch the tech market collapse on that. Positive news. Nothing makes sense. Stop looking for patterns. Just get in, get out, make money. Pound odd. Right, so we've covered all of those. We've covered pound odd already, haven't we? Really. Gervais's short. So, yeah, pound odd, big extension to the upside on ADR. RSI is getting there as well. So I'll be looking for short entries on that one soon. Last short entry was there. Exited, done. So just waiting for a new entry. But ADR, obviously, it's an entry now on ADR. Or if you're not in it, let's see if we own it yet. Pound odd. Yeah, pound odd. It's actually ADR reversals. I actually got 4 positions on it already. So it's already short. 1.7 DD, same as a pound New Zealand. So both of these obviously are the same thing, pound odd, pound New Zealand. So when you're trading against the Aussie and the New Zealand, you really only want to get in one ideally because they both move together. So we're still waiting on those. Let's look at the RSIs. So RSI extensions, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, your 4-hour RSI extension. We looked at this one this morning. Being nicely embedded for a short. It is rolling over very, very nicely. So you've had the reversal alert this morning. Euro CAD has just hit ADR as well. So Euro flying. That'll be off the positive news for the Euro. 2 interest rate rises coming in June and July. And obviously negative news for oil. Well, not negative news for oil, but the fact that oil is tanking will be driving the Canadian dollar down, which drives obviously Euro CAD up. So yeah, Aussie New Zealand, that's rolling over very nicely. So we looked at this morning as being a nice rejection to the upside. We've had the hourly reversal alert, M pattern forming very nicely, looking for this to drive back down into propulsion at some point. 2 positions on this. Yes, so just waiting for that to drop, but you've just started to roll over. So the M15 reversal alert this morning held. Euro odd. So that's the Euro pumping at the moment at the open. So that held, that reversal alert. Nice M pattern going in. If we break that low, which is the Asian low, we should be driving down, obviously, wherever we're going to go to the downside. Euro pound is extended. Got hourly and 4-hourly RSI extension on this one. So 4-hour RSI has just got extended to the downside. Same as these. Yeah, loads of little longs taken off of this. So again, extended again. Nice looking long opportunity. We looked at this one. This is an ADR hit, obviously, to the downside. So it's an ADR hit to the downside, long. It's a 4-hour RSI extension long, and it's an hourly RSI extension long. So it's just a long. Lots and lots of longs. So the pound at the moment pushing very hard. Euro, good news. So as soon as they take the foot off the throttle on that pound, this is going to pop. So looks good across the board. So 4-hour drop down M5, wait for the reversal alert, which is going to be there. You've had one already this morning. Oh yeah, there you go. Got it on already. There. So that was your first reversal alert this morning, which is off the back of here. So already in. It's just put a new low in. Literally, it's gone low by 1 pipette, basically. Pretty much a double bottom. So you're about to get a second bite of the cherry if you're not in it already on that reversal alert. So hourly RSI extension down there. That's the first one we've had for a while, actually. Yeah, first trade for a long time on this. Yeah, we looked at this one this morning, didn't we? Last entry was back on the 9th of May. So this is your first entry long for a while. Euro pound. So that's extended on the 4-hour and the hourly. So either strategy, RSI, mean reversion. There's a good entry there. Pound, we've got lots of hourlies as you'd expect. So this is why I keep saying, you know, if you're going to trade strategies, obviously the VPS has got ADR reversals running and H1M5 mean reversion. You're going to get roughly the same trades on these a lot of the time. So pound CAD, ADR extension to the upside, short. Also RSI extension to the upside, short. So it's a short on both strategies. So pound CAD nicely extended, looks for the next reversal alert short on that, which is going to be there, 168, 169 level, big round number. Yeah, so 169 is your big round number, which is there. 2 weekly levels at the same area there on the pound CAD. So good confluence with level support there, level resistance. So previous week's high. Sorry, that's 3 week out of the way. Pound CAD RSI extension. So 3 week ago high, 2 week ago high. That is that level. You got 2 propulsion gap targets to the upside. So if it doesn't bounce here and come back down into that propulsion, we're going to push up and we're going to find some sellers somewhere in there. So very nice extension. Last time we got up there, as you can see, was this extension here. We needed multiple entry exits to get out of that one. Then obviously it just came down beautifully back into propulsion gaps. We've still got these old ones back here. to the downside. But as soon as we filled those, we should come back down into there. So nice short entries on that one. Wait for the reversal alert though. Drop down M5. Wait for some signs of weakness to come in. Weird price action. It just gapped down a little bit there and it's rallying back up again. Pound odd. Again, same thing. Sorry, yeah, pound odd and pound CAD both extended to the upside on the hourly. Yeah, pound CAD is the one that's extended above the 25. Pound odd's just hit 200 ADR. There we go. So 200 ADR on that one. So very weak Australian dollar, very weak New Zealand dollar. Huge strength on this pound. Perfect storm is the pound odd today. Pound Swiss also extended on the hourly RSI. So that's just got over the 70, not quite above the 75 yet. Again, ADR. So it's all the same stuff we just looked at. ADR reversals, 150 ADR. Weekly levels coming up as well for potential resistance. Looking for it to come back down into there. This is just range bound. So there's your range highs coming up. ADR extension, RSI extension, weekly resistance levels. Good confluence there for a short. Again, drop down M5. Reversal of that is going to be there. Pound New Zealand we've looked at. ADR again. ADR hit 125. It's a hourly RSI extension. So this one already has shorts on it. We've got 3 entries on this one. So first entry was there off of the New Zealand news. Since then, we've done nothing but rally. So second entry, third entry is this morning, still rallying. So done 2 drawdown controls on this one. One there and one there. So they've both had 1 drawdown control done each. Third entry's gone in, keeping the average around about an ADR. But we're looking for a move back down into this propulsion there at some point. This area here is held up as well. So you can see how they've been buying this up, look. So bought it up off the New Zealand dollar, came up, accumulated, then pushed up, another leg, accumulated, pushed up again. So you got another propulsion gap, pulled back, bought it, bought it, bought it, bought it, pushed up, accumulated, bought it again. Yeah, so all these propulsion gaps being formed out of these accumulations are all targets when they come back down. So that's the obvious target now for this particular, these 3 entries that we've got on here. There. Yeah, those 3. So that target there is back into profit. So that's where I'll be targeting to the downside on pound New Zealand. New Zealand CAD, New Zealand Swiss are the 4-hour RSI extensions to the downside. So that's still extended. Again, 2 entries on this one on the hourly. One there, average there. So working for a pullback up into propulsion. 4-hour RSI extension, nicely embedded. So divergence there. Bullish. And New Zealand dollar Swiss. 2 entries on that. Should be around about ready for a third. Half an ADR, 26. Where's my calculator gone? 51 times 75%, so 38 pips. Yeah, so if it pushes down below this low, so we just filled this propulsion gap. So if it comes back down and tests the monthly low and ADR today, third entry will be going in there, which will bring the average down, ready for a pop. So loads of opportunities all over the place on everything. Mainly ADRs today, so big moves, mainly the pound today. So big mover today is the pound. Weird that there's no news on it, but just pumping it. Big moves. So all mean reversion opportunities. However, obviously the pound is bullish. So you are trading counter trend on all of these if you're shorting them. But the way this is moving at the minute, this New Zealand dollar, it's worrying how we've got so much weakness in this Aussie and this New Zealand. Really suffered off the back of its interest rates. But tomorrow is the big one for the Australian dollar, CPI. So it looks like they're buying into CPI figures. So quite possibly reverse the whole lot and wake up tomorrow morning with a massive pot of cash if you've got lots of shorts on, or rather anything New Zealand wise. For longs. Dreska, sorry I'm late, I'll rewatch. No problem. Lots of opportunities out there today. We've had aircraft news today. Yep. I did a rodeo on one. And landed safely. So we're trailing this Dow, the US 30. So TP1 was there. TP2 is there. So on its way to TP2. NASDAQ TP1 hit, pulled back, stopped out. TP2 was down here. So it looks like it's going to break that low and come down and hit target. TP1 and TP2 shorts on the NASDAQ. Both hit if it had taken them, which it didn't. So I need to figure out why this isn't trading. I've got an idea on how to change this so that it kind of guarantees it gets into these. For some reason it's not taking these entries. I'm wondering if it's something to do with magic numbers. Can't think what it would be, but for some reason it's not taking these trades. $401, $401, that's fine. $402. Yeah, I got a feeling it's something to do with magic numbers on this. 602, that should have a different magic number for a buy and a sell, and it's not. It's got the same one. Yeah, it's something to do with the way it's numbering these. I need to relook at how this is working. Job for tomorrow morning. Or maybe a bit later. Brian, looks like I'm getting my Fidel account back. Good one. Signed new terms of service this morning. See what happens. So what happens then? Did they... You have to let me know what happened with it, because I'm interested to know. Obviously, it was payday, wasn't it, last week? So are you going to get paid? Are you not going to get paid? Keen to know. Afternoon, Stevie. So if anybody got anything else they want to have a look at, let me know. Obviously, there's opportunities galore today. So everything basically is getting a little squeezed on the New Zealand dollar side. And obviously the yens, we are expecting some intervention to come, which looks like the market is also expecting. It's all starting to roll over on this at the moment. So, but if there's any other pairs, let me know. Stevie saying afternoon, Stevie. You Stevies and your little gang together. So this one, obviously, if we are going to get an intervention, obviously you'd be looking for targets to the downside there. But if you got into this one on this ADR, RSI, I think that was an ADR extension as well as an RSI extension. The one that I got out of there, you'll be in 3 positions on this potentially. Second entry possibly there. 67. Second entry. You wouldn't have been in a second entry on this until probably there. So potentially third entry there today. So your average should be somewhere around this propulsion gap. But if they do intervene with the yen, we're going to be back down here again on this very soon. 5:30 is when this news is forecast. So news for the US dollar was positive on the consumer confidence. Let's see what that's done to the US index. Oh, where are we? Euro US dollar. Not a lot. So no real reaction off that news. Doesn't tend to do a lot with consumer confidence. It's not really something the market pays much attention to. It's more interested in facts at the moment to do with interest rates and inflation. So no real, so a little bit of weakness coming in on the US dollar off the back of that news. Euro US dollar's having a little bit of a rally. No real news. Movement that I can see. So weakness on the US, which will help the US dollar yen a little bit more if you're short on that from this morning. Wall Street Trader, can we look at Euro odd? So Euro odd is long. So Euro New Zealand and Euro Australian, both longs from a fundamental perspective. COT bias is long. Retail at the moment are all shorting it, which is giving you even more reason to long it. Fundamentals are pretty flat between the two. So overall at the moment, it's kind of a neutral stroke buy. However, obviously, with what's happened with the Australian and the New Zealand off the back of the New Zealand interest rates, it doesn't seem to really be recovering much. So I would be looking for longs on it, really. So it's a nice bounce out of the 2472 area. So this is 2472 zone is where we tend to find bounces when we're in a trend. So if the trend is going to continue, and there's no reason why it shouldn't, the euro, we've just had confirmation of a June and July increase. So that is bullish euro. There's nothing much going for the Australian dollar. However, if we do get interest rates, inflation tomorrow morning going up, that will be bullish Australian dollar because they will be increasing their interest rates again in line with inflation. So we need to see what happens with this figure tomorrow. But if this figure, it's forecast to come out bullish. So if we do get a 6.4 on this tomorrow, I suspect the market will probably have a negative reaction, as it's had a negative reaction to positive interest rates on the New Zealand dollar. So if we, however, get anything less than 6.4 tomorrow, it's definitely going to have a negative reaction. So 6.4 or below tomorrow, I think you'll see weakness in the Australian dollar, which will weaken again the New Zealand dollar, which means this should be a good buy. So I think it's more of a long than a short, but at the moment, not really anything for me. I'm just waiting for it to actually move somewhere. The last entry was there, as you can see, as a short. But right now, it's just bang in the middle of the last week's range, but more bullish than bearish. All I can say. So if you want to get in long, at the moment it's an ADR reversal short. So you'll be looking to play it back into here and then long it out of here. Market structure shifting bullish. So look for buybacks, pullbacks to get in long. I would. Glad I'm trading with a trend. Look at those euro pound sells. There is no trend on euro pound though. It's sideways. It's a little bit bearish at the moment, but the thing with the euro pound is it doesn't really trend. Where are you going? So this is Liz Truss completely screwing over the British economy, and then the Bank of England going, "Oi, you silly moo, don't do that." Since then, obviously, since we've had Brexit, there is nothing going on between us two. It is sideways as hell. 39 ADR. It's the small. I think it's the smallest ADR out there, isn't it, at the moment, excluding oil. 39. So it's 44 CAD Swiss, euro pound 39. So it's the smallest ADR. It's the least moving thing out there. The likelihood of this actually getting into a trend is very remote, especially as we've just had 2 interest rate increases announced on the euro. And the pound, we are expected to be bullish as well because inflation is still way, way, way too high. We've got at least 0.75 to 1% coming on the pound, which is bullish. Euro, at least another 0.5%, which is bullish. When you get a bullish currency against a bullish currency, you get a range. So it doesn't matter which way you trade this. I'm long at the moment down here. If it gets down to there, I shall be long a couple more before it pops. But equally, you can short it. Just wait for any movement on this in any direction, really. So the only trades I've had on this in the last 2 months is 2 longs, literally. I think. Three longs. Look. That's it. So right now is my 4th entry. That's it. Haven't had a short entry on it. Look. Touch and go with you got that. Short there. Other than that, that's it. It's longs only. It's been coming down, obviously, but take it either way. Doesn't matter which way that one. Doesn't matter which way anything really at the moment. Actually, my trend trade sells were Aussie dollar Swiss. Oh, right. Okay. I've been talking, you're waffling on about you having your euro pound and then you actually correcting yourself and saying it's a different pair. Aussie dollar Swiss. Yeah, short. I'll give you that one. Yeah, Aussie dollar Swiss short. Only had one entry, two entries on this one in the last couple of months. One there, short, and a long there. At the moment, we are stuck. So difficult to tell, but at the moment it's a short. So this one again, same as the Aussie dollar euro, the euro Aussie dollar basically. The Swiss franc is linked to the euro movement. So again, that's why you'll find a low ADR on that one. So euro Swiss you'll find is the second lowest ADR out there, 34. And we've got euro pound at 30. Oh, sorry, it's the lowest. Yeah, euro pound and euro Swiss. There you go. So both the lowest ADRs out there, because the euro is linked to the Swiss and the Swiss is linked to the euro, so they move very much together. So if the euro is bullish because we've got two interest rate rises coming, that's going to drag the Swiss franc with it. The Australian dollar is being dragged down by the New Zealand dollar. So there's your bias, Aussie dollar Swiss. So it's a short. You want to be ideally shorting it. Yeah, it's a sell. But not much bias on it, to be honest, with the Swiss franc, because the Swiss franc interest rates are very unpredictable. But because they're lower, you're always going to have a slight bias offset, the same as you do with the yen. But we are getting to some point now, look, Aussie dollar, US dollar, where that is a real strong sell. That's probably, anything we're getting over the 8s to 10s on, like the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, Aussie dollar, US dollar, you want to start really paying attention to these directionally, because there is a likelihood that that will continue. But again, when I built this, it was at the period we were going mental on interest rates. Interest rates are now starting to slow down. So you're going to get some figures like this, which make it look like it's an amazing sell. But if they start to slow down interest rate increases on the US dollar, that's going to come down. So if we do get any strength on the Aussie and New Zealand, i.e. their inflation continues to rise, this actually is not going to be the direction you want to be trading. But it's very difficult with anything to tell direction at the moment, because it's all hanging on those interest rates, and those interest rates are very unpredictable because the US dollar is about to go bankrupt. Possibly. But yeah, follow the trend at the minute with this one specifically. Going to Euro odd a couple of hours ago. What, long? You're out, probably, aren't you? I'd be out on that if I was in it. I think I was in it. Euro odd. No, that wasn't an ADR. So Euro odd. Oh, this is H1. Yeah, so Euro odd H1 I was out. That was yesterday. So I got out of that yesterday. Short. There. So that would be the obvious trade to take at the moment with that support bounce, basically. Back up into propulsion there, or up into retest last month's high. But in effect, because we've got two interest rate rises coming, unless the Aussie dollar, the only thing that's going to really scupper this as a long tomorrow is CPI figures. If those CPI figures come out massively high, i.e. a big above forecast, then that is going to come down. So other than that, if they come out as expected, we should see a good rally on that one tomorrow. So it's a good long, but the long entry was this morning down here. There's your reverse alert and your retest. But I'd have been out of that by now. It's moved an ADR, so I'd have been in and out and done. Do you think the correlation of the US dollar yen pair is beginning? Oh, correction. what target for short? Yeah, so difficult to tell. If targets are always going to be propulsion gaps. So there's two potential targets you've got on this that I can see. There's three really. That area there, which was previous resistance, turned support for the bounce. So we pushed up, rallied away from it, accumulated, came up, slammed through it, retested it, and pushed. So that's a decent resistance turn support. You got this area here, which is 2 weeks ago's high, which we then came back and retested 3 times before we managed to get through it. Then we dropped back down, retested it as support, and pushed off. So we know that is a strong point there. So that area there is strong. That is strong as well, which also doubles as previous low. And this is why I keep, you can see now I'm painting this out on the chart, why I keep 3 weeks worth of support resistance on the chart, because you're interested in what the most recent support and resistance was from last week. You're interested in what last week's was, because if you're in a trend, they're going to act as decent spots for bounces. And 3 weeks ago is also important if you're in a range, because you're going to find highs and lows at different levels. So that's why I keep those 3 weeks on there. And then the last months and the previous months, because your monthlies will often act as 4 weeks ago. So you only really need 3 weeks worth of support and resistance, and then a couple of months worth of support and resistance. You've got every major area really mapped out on the chart. So you can see that high there acted as support. So we've got that on the chart there as last week's low. So if you're coming down, you're looking at that area there as a bounce point, that area there as a bounce point. Failing that, you're going to come back down into these propulsion gaps, which act as those weekly lines as well there. So you've got these propulsion gaps, which is where we broke and retested. So there's multiple spots to the downside you can use as targets. That's the obvious one, but you're looking at potentially taking 2 to 3 weeks to get there. However, if they intervene, you could be looking at a 200 to 300 ADR move in 1 day. So ADR is 117. So from there, we're looking at what, 240 to 360. So 240 is last week's low. 360 is back down into this area here. So that propulsion gap is 360. Last week's low is 240. So if they do an ADR intervention, basically, and drive at a couple of hundred ADR, you'll be there tomorrow, possibly this evening. Don't know what's happening with this 5:30 thing, if it even happens. So just got to be aware of the news. But that's where I'd be looking. We're greedy at the moment. That won't be greedy tomorrow if the yen intervention happens. So apparently there is a meeting happening later on with the Japanese about stuff, an emergency meeting to do with FX, which is typically where they will say either let's do it and intervene, and they'll say we didn't intervene, and you'll see a massive movement go like that and go, nothing to do with us. It's a bit like the Russians. What do you mean war? No, we're doing special military operations along this area of land. What do you mean war? No, I don't know what we're talking about. Japanese are very much like that when there's an intervention in the FX markets. What are we talking about? So it's very obvious, very obvious, because first of all, they come out on the news and say something about it, and then they press the button and something like that happens. And you're like, was that you? No. It's like a child. Yeah. You walk in and there's paint all over the walls. Like, was that you? Dog. Yeah, that's the mentality they have. Was that an intervention? No. Was that an intervention? No. Was that an intervention? No. Why did it move so much? So, yeah, down. But use your head with targets. Targets are always going to be support, resistance, or propulsion. Yeah. So a previous area where a move started, or an area where we struggled to get through, will always act as an area of support, because there'll be limit orders sitting here, because everybody that managed to get the breakout here will be wanting to add to their positions where they started them. So you're always going to get some kind of pop. Oh, look at this choppy, hideous mess today. No money to be made on the indices today. It's a mess. Additionally, could you please share with your opinion about pound New Zealand? I can look at that. Can we put links in the chat? Yeah. As far as I know. I don't know. Ask YouTube. Nothing to do with me. Pound New Zealand. I've already done pound New Zealand. It's an ADR reversal and an H1 reversal. I'm already in it. So I've got 3 positions at the moment on this. Whoop. Those 3 trades there, basically. I need to move myself because I'm always highlighting stuff over here because that's where it tells me my orders. I need to move myself somewhere. I guess probably down here is probably better, isn't it? Do I use that area of the chart? I'll probably point to RSIs down here at some point, won't I? Maybe I should stick myself bang in the middle. So yeah, got 3 positions on it. So since the since the interest rate increase on the New Zealand dollar, which obviously caused it to collapse, we've been waiting for a pullback. We haven't had it. So the pound has been strong. The New Zealand hasn't managed to rally at all yet. So we are expecting a profit take move on this. The banks and institutions are sitting on an absolute fortune. Every single short on the New Zealand dollar at the moment hasn't been undone. So they are sitting on an absolute fortune in short orders on the New Zealand dollar. They've got to buy themselves out of those at some point. So I think what they're waiting for is the Australian dollar CPI figures tomorrow, which is why I think we'll probably get a move on this tomorrow, regardless of whether that number comes out high, low, or as expected, because they're going to use it to dump, I think. So we've got lovely wicks going in at 125 ADR at the moment on this. We're extended on the hourly RSI. The 4-hourly RSI is still extended and embedded. So, yeah, obviously you can see it's a short. Beautiful wick at the moment on that, but it's not the first time we've had beautiful wicks on it. So, you know, don't know. But this is totally parabolic at the minute, so just waiting. And waiting and scaling out. So as you can see, scaling out of it on the way. So 2 scale outs done, 2 drawdown controls done on that today. And we'll continue to do drawdown control if it continues to pump. But I don't think it's going to be able to survive much longer without a pushback. At least 50% of that move, which brings you back down to the top of propulsion if it's going to rally. So think trend. And look at what happens in a beautiful trend. Yeah. So something like the euro US dollar, which has been trending forever. Yeah. What we do in a trend is we push, we pull back into the 24.72. We push new legs. We pull back into the 24.72. Yeah. We push down. We pull back to the 24.72. Push down. Sit around the 24.72. Push down again. Back up again. Push down. And that's what we keep doing. And then the trend changes direction. And we do the opposite. We pull back down into the 24.72 and we bounce off of the monthly and the quarterly moving averages because the market moves in quarterly and monthly cycles. ADR and CAD-yen. So where we are at the moment is kind of in a range. Aussie dollar yen exceeded. So pound New Zealand, where we are at the moment, is in a bull trend, which we've been in for a few months now. And we've pushed up. So when you get this extended away from the 24.72, the market does one of 2 things. It either pulls back into, there's 2 examples on here which are perfect. Look. We either pull back into the 24.72 area for a bounce. So when we get too far away from there, the market can't sustain a move anymore because it literally has to take profit, otherwise it doesn't make money, and it pulls back. Or we accumulate and wait for the 24 to catch up with price, which then propels us up onto the next move. So either way, what you're going to see is either a pullback into that, climb up the stairs, fall down the elevator shaft type move, or you're going to see an accumulation. An accumulation is formed with a range. So as long as it goes into a range, if you're scaling in, you can scale out. Yeah. So for the 24 to wait for price, or price to wait for the 24 to catch it, it will start to go into a range. So as long as you're scaling into your positions, your average should be within an ADR, and it will bounce around an ADR up and down. There's your exit, which is why position trading works in trends. There's a video on it on the YouTube channel about whether or not you can mean revert in a trend. You can mean revert in any situation, because mean reversion is part of market structure. So when you've got a market structure trend to the upside, it's continually mean reverting on the way up. Yeah, that is a mean reversion in an uptrend. Mean reversion in a range is to the mean, the middle. Doesn't matter. Mean reversion works all the time, 80% of the time. Which is why we are mean reversion traders. So is it better to take it easy with the yen pairs? Yeah. So yeah, I would take it easy with the yen pairs. Just had a couple more ADRs, didn't we, on the yen? Aussie yen. So Aussie yen's just hit ADR to the downside. Was it CAD yen? I think it was CAD yen. Yeah, CAD yen's just hit ADR to the downside. So this yen, very, very strong today. As you would expect with this talk of intervention, the market's not stupid. Yeah, we've seen this so many times. So many times. Like this is the one that gets me every time. Yeah. They say one of two things. There's only two things the Japanese ever say. They say nothing for ages, and then they'll suddenly come out and go, we are closely monitoring FX market movements. And then a couple of days later, they'll go, we are not worried about the movements in the FX market, but we're keeping a close eye on it. And then all of a sudden, the yen will go, and they'll be like, we're happy with the way the FX market is moving because they just pumped the crap out and it's dropped. Or they come out and say this, we are not focusing on FX levels, but we're keeping an eye on them, which is what they're saying under their breath behind this. And then they contradict themselves by coming out and saying, we are closely watching FX move and we will respond appropriately if required. We're not watching the FX levels, but we're watching the FX levels. Completely contradictory. And it's come from the same bloke as well. It's just basically, if the Japanese ever mention the word FX, you just need to go, I'm not longing it. I'm not longing anything against it, rather. You want to be longing the yen, not the other way around. So shorts on the yen, basically. But what you'll find is, as I say, it'll either do that and then they won't intervene because they'll be like, it's like a warning shot. They've shot a warning shot across the market's bow and the market's gone, yeah, all right, we'll stop. Or the market will go, nah, screw you. And then the yen will go, nah, screw you back. And it will come down twice as hard. So just be careful. Do not over leverage yourself. Either way, don't start shorting every yen pair under the sun either, because this could still pop to ADR before it drops 4 ADR. And if it pops to ADR and you've shorted 7 times against the yen, you're going to be in pain. So don't, just keep the exposure rule. 2 entries. No, we don't intend to intervene, Squirrel. Squirrel? Don't get that one, Brian, sorry. AI generated. Wall Street Trader. Don't know what that means. Is Aussie dollar US dollar good for a long? Yes, at the moment. I'm long, basically waiting for this US dollar weakness, but there is a chance it's not going to come. So the Aussie dollar at the minute, as you can see, we are sideways now, have been for 4 days. We're waiting for the CPI figures tomorrow. So the CPI will either dump it or pump it tomorrow, one way or the other. Hopefully it pumps it. I'm hoping for positive CPI figures tomorrow, basically, for the Aussie. They're due. So the fact that we've dumped so hard on the New Zealand dollar, I get the feeling, and we're forecasting positive figures. I get the feeling we might get something like a 6.5 or a 6.6 tomorrow. And we'll get a nice rally on the Aussie and the New Zealand. We'll wake up to 150 ADRs. Might not, but it's dropped enough without any real pullback. But it has been fairly orderly. If you look, that's a 38 retracement. That's a 50 retracement. That's not quite a 38. So that's a 38, look. That move there, you got 50 off of it. Actually, it was a 61.8. This move here kind of started from there. We haven't got a 38 on it yet, so it's due a pop at least. As long as it gets a pop by half an ADR to an ADR, I'm out of that Aussie US long. But the way it's accumulating here is either one or two things. It's a flag break short, or they're going to pop it on news. At the moment, they're not moving it in a minute because they're waiting for tomorrow. Afternoon, Tarmo. How are we doing? Right, well, that's all I've got. And there's obviously Aussie dollar, US dollar, you can see upside targets galore. Yeah, there's a lot of propulsion gap targets to the upside that they want to come back to. So the market will be trying to get long on this. But at the minute, you're kind of stuck again between a rock and a hard place on this. We still haven't got all this stuff down here sorted from these moves back here. So difficult. Bearish and bullish, but it's all about the US dollar. You know, we don't know what's going on with the US dollar. The US dollar doesn't know what's going on with the US dollar. The US don't know what's happening. So how the hell are we meant to? Right. I need to go and work on this EA and figure out why this isn't triggering properly. Why I can't break it in the strategy tester, which is really annoying. I can't get it to break. So it's got to be magic number related because I'm running it 3 times, which doesn't explain why that one doesn't work at all. That one works. That one only half works. The joys of programming. Right, I'll leave it there. Anything you need, I'll be back in Telegram group, obviously. I'll be around tomorrow morning, 7:50, same time, for the Frankfurt session. We'll trade the DAX, and obviously tomorrow afternoon. Bear in mind, news, anything Australian dollar that you have that is in profit before you go to bed, might be an idea to take it off so you don't wake up with negative. Possibly going to get a rally on it. But if you've got P&Ls which are green for the Aussie, I would probably bank them or protect them. We've also got CPI for Germany tomorrow, which is the biggest economy in Europe. So that is the leading CPI figure for the Eurozone. So again, potential drop in that tomorrow, which is negative. So we'll see what happens there. But we've also got GDP tomorrow as well, and JOLTS, which doesn't really do a lot, but GDP for the CAD as well, which can have an impact. We kind of know what's going on with GDPs. We're not expecting bullish GDPs, so I don't think the market's particularly worried about it at the moment as an indicator, but we have got movement tomorrow afternoon on that. So quite a busy day tomorrow. And then obviously we're building up for PMIs and unemployment claims and unemployment rate on Friday. So tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, all massive days for Aussie and US and Euro potentially. So we've got a busy week this week, which is good. We need some movement. We need some corrections. ADR just hit on the CAD Swiss. Just hit as well. There we go. So Swiss franc rallying. Canadian dollar coming down. This must be oil still, is it? Yeah, oil still struggling down here, look. And Swiss franc strengthening up again. Look at this movement today. So much volatility, yet no direction at all. Building up for something. They're accumulating. Right, I'll leave it there. Anything else you need, let me know in Telegram. Otherwise, back tomorrow, same time, usual sessions. And I will see you guys then. Have a good evening.